Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the original Mark Z. I am Zester, filling in for Pops today. I hope everyone is having an excellent start to the week. Sorry for the slight delay. I was a few minutes, I shouldn't say a few minutes. I was a few seconds late getting everything started up for today's stream. And so my apologies as I'm making certain I get it all together, make certain I've clicked all the buttons, got all the screens ready. I've got to make certain I'm ready over on Rumble to be able to see everything there. What is up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning, all the moderators. Good morning to Kukla, to Trish, the Daily Word. Oh, man. Good morning, Sluggo. Good morning, Grumpy. Oh, good morning. Thank you guys all so much. I'm certain I'm missing plenty, but I'm scrolling as fast as I can, trying to see all the names, and, well, it's just flying on by. Oh, Grandma Evie. Good morning. Treebeard as well. Thank you guys all so much for everything you do. And good morning, everyone. How is everyone starting their week off? Good morning, Turk. Good morning, Danny. Texas girly girl. Good morning there. Michael Fox. Hope you're having an excellent one. Tahoe. Good morning, Tahoe. Good morning, Squirrely. Oh, Patsy, thank you so much. Good morning to you. And Zester, your hair looks nice. I was fighting with it. I was kind of thinking the opposite this morning. So now I'm feeling very special. Daisy Duke. Good morning, Daisy Duke. Is Dad having a good visit in NC? Well, he's with all the siblings. He's with all the family and his dad. So he's having a great time. They're enjoying themselves right now. I'm jealous. I'm definitely jealous, but it's a good thing, and it's something that's needed. Definitely needed. So, no, he's doing well. I talked to him, matter of fact, just a few minutes ago, talking about Bond updates, talking about the weekend, and I made certain to ask him and to tell him he needed to take a break, take some time. So we will talk about all of that. Tom Johnson, has Mark Z received funds? No, he has not. We'll be talking about the bond updates for today, guys. I'll go ahead and say before we even have the banner, everybody crazy excited going into the weekend, and now they're staying particularly quiet for the beginning of the week. And so not certain where they're currently sitting at. Lots of things going on in Iraq, but bonds, super talkative on Friday, super talkative on Saturday, very quiet on Monday. Guitar. Guitar, you making fun of my stash, man. I chose not to shave for just the weekend. And it grows back, guys. I promise. All right. You seem very happy. Well, I'm in a good mood. I am in a good mood, Quester. There's so much going on that is positive. So very much. And the big thing that we're going to be talking today is about Trump renewing the calls for the audit of Fort Knox. For those that have not seen that over the weekend, Trump reiterated and called for a physical audit of Fort Knox in a Truth Social post. And that's going to be the main thing we're talking about today, because all of the timelines are coming together on that front. We've got a lot of things that all are melding together at just the right time. And so we're going to be talking about that. That has got me pretty excited today. Oh, good morning, Gary Ross in Cameron, North Carolina, North Kakalaki. Now, good morning, Gary. How is the temperature today in North Carolina? Chad Cody, just my opinion. I feel that we're in the skinny of all this and feel that we will see this before the official start of summer. We've got so many things going on, Chad. It's hard to pay attention to any one thing at any point in time. Jan Schill. Say, Zester, did you get up at 2 a.m. to get everything set up? I kind of wonder how he does get it all set up in the mornings because I was up at 6 and off and running on it. Of course, I did have to go driving over here and things like that. And so I've got a few extra steps. But remember, with him in the chair, his morning preparations takes a lot longer than it does me. And no, he is particularly impressive. Oh, there we go. I'll jump into the news though after this one. Mikkel Ham Zester, I think you would look cool with a flat top haircut, a horseshoe mustache with just a tuft under the bottom lip. That's not one I've ever thought about. That's not one I've ever thought about. Might have to consider that one. But all right. Yes, Jonies. By the way, I am cat sitting Penny. She was very upset this morning. Very, very, very upset. And so with that, let's go ahead and throw up our banner though, before we jump into talking everything about Fort Knox. All right, guys, news banner is up. On Friday, had a lot of very excited Bond contacts that were messaging back and forth with Pops. Unfortunately, they went silent following Saturday. So constant messaging all the way through about midday Saturday. Since then, no update. Pops was trying to call all of them this morning. Typically, Monday morning updates occur around 9 a.m. That's typically when the Bond contacts are back and awake. And mum's the word at this point in time. And so very little being heard on the Bond side. Pops is very confident that he'll have an update from them by tomorrow. Now, specifically, though, going over and moving to Iraq, which is where we did get some updates over the weekend. This one is very much a wolf in sheep's clothes. Iraqi Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi establishes the Supreme Sovereign Council for Integrity. This was announced over the weekend in regards to government contracts, also in regards to all government auditing, including resources and funds. And so in regards to this one, Iraq is going through and attempting to clean up any of the remaining corruption throughout the country. And that's really what the headline ran with in terms of this announcement. And that's a shallow reading of what it's really all about. It talks about government corruption at the forefront because, well, domestically, government corruption is something the Iraqi people care about. But as you dig further into the announcement, what it really is driving in is a matter of government reporting on resources, funds, and currency. And so an incredibly positive sign that we are seeing movement in Iraq. But the biggest one, and what I'll both have the news banner up for, and then I'll probably pull it down because we're going to be talking about it for a long time. And I don't want everybody stuck, looking at the news banner for too long. But the biggest update on everything is Trump wants to audit Fort Knox's $667 billion of gold reserves. We know that that number is not even close to accurate. And with the July 4th time coming up very, very soon, we just hit the beginning of June. So literally a month and 3 days away. We'd be looking at the July 4th date that we've been hearing a heck of a lot about. We've also been told that the July 4th date is supposedly the announcement date for the Bitcoin Act of 2026. This was announced about a month and a half ago now. About a month and a half ago now. And what it calls for is the revaluation of the United States gold reserves. And so we've got so many things coming together on that front. That was the biggest and most exciting one for me primarily. And I'll take the banner down now because we're going to be talking about the Fort Knox audit a lot throughout today's stream. But this would be the major one for both Pops and myself in terms of everything coming together at the exact same time. Because we've got too many things all targeting the next couple of months and all directly in relation to gold. The revaluation of gold, the tokenization of gold, And with it, we are seeing a lot of major changes occur in both Iraq, but we're also seeing it in the primarily we're seeing it across the BRICS nations and the United States. And so, not the most exciting news banner day on that front, but I am particularly excited about Trump's continued push on the audit of Fort Knox. Curious to see what all of y'all were thinking when y'all saw that one. And it all ties back to the news story that we actually covered on Friday. And so let's go ahead and jump straight to that story. We'll have to do a little bit of jumping around, but on Friday, we talked about the CIA official who was found and that the feds seized having $40 million in gold bars, cash, Rolexes, etc., etc. We have now learned more, and this is what we talked about on Friday, is that with something like this, we're never going to get the information right at the beginning. It's going to take some time. Now we're starting to get more and more information about this Mr. David Rush. David Rush appears to have a variety of different contacts in the Pentagon, appears to be not just a small level or a low level CIA agent, appears to be at some of the highest levels of the CIA. And on account of this announcement on Friday, this is where things start to get really interesting and where I think the deep dive is really going to need to occur to figure out why. On account of this news breaking on Friday, that is why Trump wants to audit Fort Knox's gold reserves. And so this all ended up coming together because of this CIA agent being caught. We discussed this one. This is the same exact news article. I actually saved it, the exact one that we looked at on Friday. And so all the information there remains the same. All we do know in terms of more information is that Mr. David Rush here was very, very well connected with a variety of different people inside of the Trump administration, although most of those appeared to be holdovers that have been their career government officials. With that, Trump then makes the announcement in regards to the audit of Fort Knox. And so with that one, I've seen this all over the place. We've got a lot of different talking heads and news pundits going, why and how are these two things connected? Why does the news break of $40 million of gold being, we don't even know what David Rush, the CIA agent, was doing with it. In all honesty, we don't. He claims that it was for government purposes. He claims that it's all backed up. But what is a criminal who just stole $40 million from the United States government going to say besides, yeah, I'm not guilty? And so right now, we really don't have any solid facts or solid logic around the entire situation. All we know is that CIA agent, very highly, very well connected, not some low level nobody. This is somebody who is capable of continuously requesting tens of millions of dollars of gold bars, and he received them. This is not the intern, working in the cubicle down the hall. This guy is obviously extremely well connected. And after this, we get an announcement from the president of the United States that we need to audit Fort Knox. Does Trump believe that the $40 million of gold bars sitting in David Rush's house come from Fort Knox? Does that mean that we've got the CIA that is currently attempting to drain U.S. gold reserves before Trump can get an audit fully completed of Fort Knox? Lots and lots and lots of questions. And I'd love to hear some of y'all's opinions because this is such a fresh and breaking news story. And we don't have enough information at this point that I'm looking for ideas and leads as well, because this seems to be an extremely odd thing for it to have been what resulted in this reclaimed necessity for a physical audit. And yes, guys, another thing is we've been hearing about this audit for over a year. Trump's been talking about auditing Fort Knox for way more than a year, in all honesty, I should say. But we did have about a year or so ago, we had a major push. It was going to happen. We were going to get a full audit of Fort Knox during the Doge days, and we never did. Is there a reason that it's been put off to this point in time? I do think that there are far too many oddities coming together. We've got the announcement from the White House that they're planning on putting out the bill and the legislation discussing the revaluation of the Federal Reserve's gold supplies. We're supposed to be getting an announcement about that somewhere around the beginning of July. We also got an announcement from the government, and this ties in to Fort Knox, but we received this from the Trump administration discussing the need for U.S. gold reserves to start earning a yield. Now, how did they plan on accomplishing this? They planned on tokenizing the U.S. gold reserves. And so we've got all of these things coming together. We've got this major date of July 4th that we keep hearing about that I do question whether that's not something that's just being really romanticized. But it really does seem like we've got a lot of things all coming together for exactly the same time period. And we've been hearing about it for quite a while. So yes, I'm very curious to see what people are thinking about on that side. I thought it was quite odd that Trump did not provide more of an explanation. We do say, though, we do need to, I should absolutely state, Trump did state that he believes that all of the gold is in Fort Knox. Now, whether that's just Trump trying to be nice, or whether that's the honest truth, well, hopefully we'll all find out together. Hopefully we will. Oh, the Navy D. Well, today is my birthday, Zester, so I'm wishing for an RV, a Fort Knox audit, and a birthday song from the Z-Man. Wishing all blessings today. Now, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Navy D. And, well, I will make certain that the one thing that's in my control is going to happen. And so I will make certain that you get a, hopefully, a quality happy birthday rendition today, Navy D. And so let me make certain that I got that one down. Anybody else that does have the birthday today, let me know throughout, and definitely moderators if you see that I miss anybody. Give them a punt. All right. Kevin Larkin, Zester, we all know the CIA ran the drugs into America. So would it be a stretch to say that's how we bring corruption back into the news? Well, Kevin, no, it doesn't seem like much of a stretch at all. We know that the CIA has regularly, provenly attempted to manipulate the news in the United States domestically in order to fulfill their grander goals. Even if we don't jump in to the entire rabbit hole of the things that it's 99% likely that the CIA were a part of and did, if we just take the things that have provenly been done by the CIA, we know that when it comes down to it, Kevin, they are the primary tool for subverting democracy in the United States. They really are the primary tool. If you can just influence the public enough, you can convince the public to support anything, regardless of how opposed it is to their benefit. And so in that regard, Kevin, no, I don't think that that's much of a stretch to assume that the CIA could easily be a part of it, or, well, not just a part of it, could be a major ringleader inside of it. Alley Cat, I wonder if the audit already took place and that's how they caught the CIA guy. Alley Cat, I hadn't thought about it that way. What if we're essentially getting we're getting the news in the wrong order, and Trump's doing that on purpose to get people to show their hands? Martin Burke, SPLC. secretly funneled more than $3 million in donated funds to individuals associated with various extremist groups, which SPLC claimed were violent. They did so to foment violence. Absolutely, Martin. Absolutely. From Charlottesville to countless other groups, from the Proud Boys to all the rest. Turns out they were being paid for by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is really crazy because from my time in terms of studying political science, this would have been back in the early 2010s at the University of South Carolina. That was always viewed, the SPLC was viewed as a shining example of what NGOs were capable of. And so it really was, and it's crazy. It's crazy to think of the corruption and the deceit and really the evil coming out of a group like that was literally portrayed to generations of people looking to work in politics as being the shining example of what was good and right about NGOs. Now, we know that to be entirely untrue, but it is very, very well telling to look back at that and to know that at even at a higher university level back in just the early 2010s, they were going through, and very, very esteemed professors, even professors. I had an extremely conservative constitutional law professor that was quite a supporter of the SPLC. All right. Strubs 1207. And I think this is probably the one that I feel like is the most where I'm at. Strubs 1207 says, my honest opinion is it was done last year when they announced it, and now the public disclosure of it. Strubs, I'm starting to feel that way a lot about everything going on in the world. It feels like a movie is what people typically go through and describe it as if we're just watching a movie. But it almost feels like when we're watching a movie and you're watching those flashback scenes where, yes, where something has already occurred, but we're having to watch the extended blooper included release version. All right. Though. Let's go ahead and jump to, I'll keep looking through and see if any cool questions pop up. Let's go ahead and continue jumping forward. Got a few other things that I want to cover before we get to chatting with Dr. Max Justice. And so we covered this story on Friday. Pam Bondi was headed into her closed door questioning from House lawmakers over the Epstein files. We have not received much information at all out of that meeting. Remember, it was closed door, so no cameras were allowed, no reporters, yada, 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 as they so claim. What we have heard from it is essentially all that Pam Bondi admitted to was a variety of redaction errors in the Epstein files, but otherwise she defended the DOJ's handling. And so ex-Attorney General Pam Bondi tells House committee she did not lead it. And in all honesty, what they really should be doing is going after some poor fella named Todd Blanche, silent E, her former deputy attorney general, who is now the current acting attorney general. Democratic lawmakers continued on saying that Bondi refused to answer questions about Donald Trump's involvement in the release of the files. And specifically when she discussed redaction errors, and this is what has particularly frustrated a lot of people, and I find it to be particularly frustrating as well. The only error that Pam Bondi admitted to, apparently, in that closed-door hearing was these redaction errors, which when she was asked about those redaction errors, she was actually most upset about the times where they failed to properly redact documents. And so all she is claiming in terms of her overall wrongdoing or things that she views as not having gone properly in her release, because she was in charge, even if she so claims that it was Todd Blanche's desk that those documents were supposed to be sitting on. Even if that is the case, still, she believes that the only failures were the mess ups on redaction. So remember when I came on the show and showed everybody that you could go through a lot of the redacted files, and if you highlighted over the text, you did something like this, Control C and Control V, that it would unredact the redacted portions of the document. That is the only part that Miss Pam Bondi believes she messed up on. Not the redaction errors where they redacted all of the names of the perpetrators of the crimes and left victims' names. She did not view that as being the major failure. She viewed the major failure as being the documents that they weren't supposed to release, that they accidentally released, the documents that they did not properly redact, etc. And so, on that front, well, can't say that I necessarily love the information that we got. Cannot say that I necessarily love the information that we got. And so, for my final one, before we do get to talking with Dr. Max Justice, America built the dollar system. We're going to have a little bit of crypto time because, well, the Clarity Act is a major part of all of this, at least in my opinion. And also, it's just a major part of us moving towards the new financial system. Even if it's not specifically crypto or not specifically the Clarity Act, it is this blockchain technology that is going to underpin the new financial system. It's the blockchain technology that is really the big and important thing, not necessarily cryptocurrency. But all of that blockchain technology is also regulated and handled by the Clarity Act. And so Senator Cynthia Lummis has come out on Saturday and really is sounding the alarm on this one. And as we all know, yes, the American petrodollar system has dominated the global economy for going on 100 years at this point in time. Through that control, the United States had disproportionate power across the planet. We controlled the currency and the printing of the currency that all of the other governments' currencies and central banks' currencies were pegged to. We change the value of our dollar, we print extra, we end up affecting the value of their domestic currency because their domestic currency is pegged to ours. Now, we can get into an entire long-standing historical conversation about the petrodollar, about how messed up it is, especially at the point where it became disconnected from any form of gold backing. And we just started willy-nilly printing it in the Nixon era. And so we could go into all of that. We can have an entire conversation, and that would take tens and tens of hours to go through all of the history and all of the information behind it. But what we could just go as the short and dirty version of it, that financial system gave the United States massive control over the entire planet. It was known as the number one soft power of the United States. We control your economy. What Cynthia Lummis is discussing here in regards to the Clarity Act is that the passage of the Clarity Act and the removal of the old petrodollar system and the replacement of it with the new blockchain system is the United States' opportunity to continue to hold that sway, influence, and power around the world, moving into the next phase of the really into the next century. Because in all honesty, this is the technology that is going to most likely dominate the financial system for hundreds of years. And so, with this, of course, Senator Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming called on Saturday for swift action on the Clarity Act. The United States as the architect of a new financial system built around digital assets. As we all know, Lummis wants the United States to lead on this one, and she emphasized the importance of this in her X post. America built the dollar dominated financial system that has anchored global stability for a century. The Clarity Act ensures we build the next one. The time to act is now before Beijing decides it will. And so, very much a little bit of a very veiled threat because Senator Cynthia Lummis is a large supporter of Donald Trump. She is very much in regards to everything socially in terms of politics. She is very much on Team Trump. And she is the one who put forth these different cryptocurrency bills that are backed and supported by Donald Trump. She, in all honesty, is his number one ally in the Republican Party, number one asset in regards to everything blockchain technology. With that, she has a very, very large influence over the Republican Party in terms of crypto. For those that are not aware, Wyoming is the most progressive crypto state in the United States by a long shot. Wyoming already has state level regulatory bills and legislation that has passed. Wyoming already has legal frameworks for the establishment of crypto blockchain companies and decentralized companies inside of the state. You can actually go to the Wyoming State Secretary and you can file an LLC or a decentralized autonomous organization right there online for just a small fee. It gets done and handled in no time. And so Senator Cynthia Lummis has been doing this for the longest of any American politician. She was probably the first large politician to jump behind the overall idea of setting up and the importance of setting up a crypto infrastructure in each and every single state in the United States. And that's why it's so important when she does talk. And that's also why it's so important to look at the words she uses. She's a major supporter of Trump. This is absolutely her way of trying to turn up the heat. And yes, lots of Barbie. Why Wyoming? I wonder, Barbie. That's a great question. Wyoming only has like 500,000 people in the entire state. I think it is the least populous state in the United States. I could be wrong. I'm certain that it's in the top 5. But it is very odd that Wyoming was chosen. And Wyoming, on account of this, is absolutely booming. And it appears Salty Mavic and all those asking, in all honesty, the reason is Miss Senator Cynthia Lummis. She was at that point in time, she was working at the state level in Wyoming, pushing this legislation. She then got elected at the federal level as a senator for Wyoming, and she began pushing it at the federal level. And so she really is. If you ask folks on the left, Senator Cynthia Lummis is a industry plug. But that's if you ask the Democrats. You ask the Republicans, she is the most knowledgeable person about blockchain technology in the entire government. Jack Patisky, need to take a closer look at what is in the Clarity Act. That is a very, very true statement, Jack. And that's something that has been worrying me for a while because right now, we don't know what all of these amendments that were put into the Clarity Act during the Senate Banking Committee markup, which passed just a week or so ago. We don't know what those amendments are. And so, Jack, I'm worried. Ultimately, I'm very, very worried. Is it still going to be a net win short term for all of us crypto holders? Yes, I believe so. We're going to see a major boost in the overall market. We're going to see a lot of green charts, but we do not want to sell our futures for a short-term win. And that's where these amendments and that's where the Clarity Act is going to be so important. All right, though, guys, I will, because I've got it. Remember, I've got it at the tippy top of my head. I'll go ahead and sing birthday before I get Dr. Max in here. I see Dr. Max is ready. we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff, learning about mushrooms. Dr. Max Justice is an incredibly interesting person. He's got an entire backstory that we'll get into and talk about, from military service, to I'll let him talk about all of it. I don't want to steal that thunder. I'll let him have all that thunder. We'll be talking with Dr. Max in just a few, but I will go ahead and do the happy birthdays. That way I go ahead and knock that one out. I got Navy D. I got Sedona. Just saw Sedona. GG Marquis was yesterday. Hey, family man, Wyoming is the least populous state. 590,000. Yep. There probably are more deer. There probably are more deer. All right, and I will say, guys, just so that those are aware, because I'm not going to have my crypto show over on the Crazy Kryptonite, once Max and I are done chatting, I would be happy to answer some crypto type questions. We can talk about XRP, things like that. And so if anybody does want to or has any of those type of questions, we'll make certain to get those at the end. I think I've got all the birthdays. And so with that, if I do not say your name, know that absolutely happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to your loved ones. It just gets a little difficult. Everything starts to run too quickly on the chat sometimes. But let's see how my voice is today. So they tell me it's your birthday. Well, happy birthday, darling. May you live, may you love, may all your dreams come true. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Sedona. Happy birthday to Navy D. Happy birthday to GG Marquis, who was celebrating yesterday. Happy birthday to California or CAC Ranch. And a very happy birthday to anyone out there that I missed. A very, very, very happy birthday. And many, many more. And many, many more. Trey Hallbrook, can you ask your dad if he got his Arkansas Razorback from Wendy's E this week? Go Hogs. I'll have to ask him. I'll have to ask him on that one. All right, though. Steve, man. Maybe you should play a recording of your dad. Steve, man, I try my best, Steve. I try my best. All right, though. Let's go ahead. I see Dr. Max is ready. How are you doing, Dr. Max Justice?
I'm doing well. Good morning, good sir. How are you today?
Oh, doing very well. Started off my week energetic. And so that's not always the norm for me on Mondays.
Zach, I can fully appreciate that, especially after a long weekend. I don't know about you, but my week are generally out talking about mushrooms all weekend long. So my Monday mornings, I enjoy my peace and quiet and a fresh cup of Freedom Forge coffee.
Mm-hmm. And well, because then that makes sense, because you're going to be at farmers markets, at events, essentially every weekend, and that ties right into an excellent opportunity to talk about all that, because Dr. Max is a mushroom farmer in Pennsylvania. Beautiful, beautiful farm over there. I know we've gotten to see lots of it. Jeremy gets to go over there and get videos all the time, but that's really not everything you do. Besides just being an organic, functional mushroom farmer, what else is Dr. Max all about?
Well, it would probably take me some time to actually tell that story, to give it any justice, all pun intended. My wife talks about this wallpaper back there, and that's truly what a lot of that is: expensive wallpaper. Some of it with a lot of hard sweat, blood, and tears. being an Army soldier and U.S. Marine to getting my PhD and several other things in between. Um, Life's not easy, and it's not fair, um, and we have to build solutions that will endure. And that's really what I'm all about, is building solutions that endure. And that includes mushrooms, because mushrooms help the noggin, people. It's at least lion's mane. That's just one of many, many mushrooms that can help you build your or improve your internal system. This thing right here, not just your brain, your whole body. It's a system. And there's a lot of fungi inside your system, and you have to feed your fungi. And how do you feed your fungi? Give it mushrooms. So, and that's just one of many things you're doing by feeding your body properly.
Mhm.
Uh, and by the way, mushrooms is probably not the only thing folks should have in their diet. And really, when you eat properly and healthy, you'll lose weight. Your body will stay very efficient, and you'll live a much happier life. It feels so good to be able to get out and go do things, go for a walk, and
Mhm.
life. And so many people, unfortunately, don't have that ability. And some can do things about it, and some can't. But we should always try to do and be better.
Mhm. No, absolutely. And so I guess just to you're well, and there's no such thing as a retired Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. So you were I say former, but I know that's not true. You were so a Marine. It's Reverend Dr. Max Justice as well.
Yeah, that's more wallpaper over there on that side of the office.
And of course the doctorate. And then also I believe didn't you serve in the Army Reserves as well?
Well, in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, and I actually started, or I went to basic training between my junior and senior year of high school. But that was, it might have had something to do with the fact that I had Grand Theft Auto on my history of things that I've done as well. So at 15, I was not the gentle type, if you will.
Well, hey, that's the path, and I have a feeling that that Reverend part probably comes a lot into that one and that journey.
It does.
Hmm. But so with that one, what got you started? So for everyone, just so everyone knows, Dr. Max Justice, he actually grows the mushrooms that are sold over on Freedom Force for the coffee, for Mr. Heals, for all of those. He also sells all kinds of other different mushroom related things that he grows in Pennsylvania. Actually, I don't want to take Pops' thunder, but I know there's a very, very special and exciting thing that'll be happening at that farm sometime in this year. And so there will be an event with that Mark Z will be headlining in that regard. But I'm just gonna tease y'all, and I'll let Pops get into all the rest of those things. But what brought you to growing mushrooms? Because all of the things in your life, I don't want to stereotype, but I wouldn't assume that they would end up resulting in a organic mushroom farmer.
You know, there's an old adage: "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." And boy, that couldn't have been more true at a very bad, tough part of my life. And actually, it wasn't just bad and tough for me; it was worse for the love of my life. Because at the age of 38, at that time, she had a massive hemorrhagic stroke. And we were living in West Virginia at the time, but she was in Northern Virginia, providing hospice care to an older woman when that happened. And she we finally got her into the hospital, but when I got there, she didn't know who I was. And she was in sheer agony and pain. and we spent over a week in a hospital in Northern Virginia that is known for its neurological care. And they do tremendous things at Fairfax Inova Hospital in Northern Virginia. Um, However, they were giving her drugs that made her want to kill herself. And so at that time, I was just starting my PhD journey. And what's a good PhD student know to do? Research. And I came across a 5-year DARPA study. Now, DARPA, that's the Advanced Research Agency of the DoD. Now, because I'm a former Army soldier and U.S. Marine, as well as I spent over a decade in the intelligence community, uh, doing, let's just say, harmful things to a lot of people. Finally, I left that world and became a pacifist, which that's actually how I got to become Doctor Reverend Justice. But um, it was when we were in a hospital, and I found this DARPA study, and it proved that they were giving lion's mane to Army soldiers, and they were making them smarter. Now, as a former Army soldier and U.S. Marine, I know that's a hell of a feat. So I convinced the love of my life to take these little capsules of lion's mane powder. And within 3 days, she noticed a cognitive difference. And within a week, she stopped taking those big pharma drugs that made her want to kill herself. So, as far as I'm concerned, lion's mane saved the love of my life twice. And so that's why I grow lion's mane, because it really helps keep the love of my life truly the love of my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I can't imagine anything that would make it more of a life journey than that. That definitely sets it as the top priority.
Yeah, it does, and there's so many priorities, and the future is one of my priorities, and I'm building out the future. But that's a whole other talk for a whole other day, much like your Bitcoin discussion, which, by the way, I happen to be certified as an expert in the blockchain. So I fully appreciate and understand when you were talking about the blockchain earlier and how that is the future. It absolutely is, because
Mhm.
uh, we have to trust. And we have to trust our systems that we build. We have to trust our neighbors, our friends, our people. We're the humans and we have to be trusted. And frankly, social media is not building trust. And that's really why I think the mushrooms and trusting the future, trusting what we're talking about. And by the way, I say all the time, don't just trust me. Check out all of the research that I've done to get to this point, to help share and provide this information to you.
Mm.
I'll gladly share my research. However, this is where the fun and exciting FDA comes in, because really, according to the FBI FBI, that's who they'll call if I share scientific data provided either by our government or by our institutions, whether it's Penn State or Harvard University or others, or other well established scientific data, then the FDA would come after me, because I would be saying, look, lion's mane, it helped cure my wife, or
Mhm.
I heal my wife. They would come after me for saying that, even though I all I did was feed her a mushroom. Uh,
Mhm.
so it's hard to put that kind of information like on my website. I'd love to, but I would get in trouble for sharing my research.
Yep.
Got a
It
lot
is.
of circular logic there.
Hey, they've got to protect the powers that be, pharmaceutical industries and etc. They don't want any of that. And I've seen some really good questions, but also I've got to let you enjoy this one with me. Dave Levang, I tried getting some fresh lion's mane. Now I'm banned from the zoo.
David, that's a good one. That's the first time I've heard that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I know. I had to. I had to. That was just too good. Now, I did have a question. I know this one's pretty personal, but Mr. Longitude did ask if the pharma drugs were SSRIs. Because I know a lot of people when it comes to lion's mane, SSRIs, that there's some correlation there.
So just because the world is loaded with acronyms and I'm filled with many, I can't remember them all. SSRI, help me out.
Serotonin receptors. So
Oh,
yeah.
there. Yeah, thanks. So I'm not exactly sure what the big pharma drugs that they were giving my wife were. There were several, but there was one in particular. It was this big ungodly pill, and they'd wake her up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and just after she'd finally get some sleep, and then she'd get up and start screaming again.
Mm.
Uh, but there was one pill in particular. I can't remember. It was back in 2018 when this happened, and I've kind of moved beyond it. It was a tough time, as
Hmm.
well as the times. I've had such a lot of tragedy in my life, which is also what's led me to be a reverend, and to be peaceful, to stop killing things. And
Hmm.
that's one thing that really drives me is I no longer have any desire to kill.
Hmm. Well, there is. Now we've got a lot of questions coming that I think would be really good ones. And well, one of them, I think it's kind of not a question, but it drags me to the question. A lot of folks think about mushrooms, and what do they think about? They think about the mushrooms that they would eat in a salad with a steak with a on a pizza. Maybe a good little understanding, because I know a lot of folks, this might be new information, is could you kind of break down that idea between the functional mushrooms and the mushrooms that people are most used to eating, the mushrooms that people think of when they people pretty much either think of mushrooms that some hippie who has a drum circle eats, or they think about the mushrooms that they get on their pizza at Papa John's.
It, which is unfortunate because, frankly, there are more varieties of mushrooms than there are plants and trees combined. And that's just mushrooms. Now,
Mhm.
the fungal kingdom, that's the largest living kingdom on the planet. And by the way, when I say the largest, you can take all other living kingdoms on this planet, combine them into one living kingdom, and guess what? The fungi kingdom is still bigger. So that's a lot of things to learn, a lot of knowledge that's out there that's yet to be discovered. We know less about so many mushrooms that it's not even funny. So, and frankly, my knowledge of mushrooms is even limited. I mean, there are tens of thousands of mushrooms, and I can go into detail on about 20 of them
Mhm.
because it's just such a broad topic. Um, but that is also the good thing about some tools that are out there is that can help with research. There is, you don't believe everything you see online, but do
Mhm.
your homework, and you'll be able to figure out fact over fiction.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, I guess on that one, to kind of give people a little bit of an easy one, I guess one of the really big differences between the ones that people eat just on food, typically, type deal, versus the functional mushrooms is what they're grown on.
Mm.
And that doesn't seem to be universal, but it does seem to be it's pretty much universal. If you eat mushrooms for fun because you just like mushrooms and they are great for you. Great source of protein, everything else. But the button mushrooms, the all the ones you're used to, I guess. Well, what's the one unfortunate truth?
Uh, the one unfortunate truth is that so many mushrooms are grown in China, and the USDA now they are inspecting, like, I think it's less than 2% of all imports, especially in our food, which really I think that's horrendous. But that's the world we live in. but what they found is what's so interesting. Of that less than 2% that they've inspected, 97, I think, percent of the time, 96, 97% of the time, they're finding that those mushrooms that come from China are loaded in lead, cadmium, arsenic, and a whole host of other things that are not really good for us. So, really, I implore you, know where your mushrooms come from. Now, here in the good old US, we've got Kennett Square. In Kennett Square in Pennsylvania, it's about 2.5 hours from me, is the mushroom capital of the US. And you can smell it at about 40 miles away. Now, just kidding, folks. It's not quite that bad, but they grow most of their mushrooms on poo. And when you come to my farm, you'll notice that I don't grow anything on poo. In fact, my farm smells quite lovely and fresh, which is why I'm going to be excited for the future.
No, absolutely. No, I think that might be a really interesting one to kind of dive into, all the myths or the things that just people don't know. Because yeah, where are pretty much all of the mushrooms coming from? If they're
Right.
grown on poop, they come from Pennsylvania. If they're not growing on poop, and even when they're growing on poop, they're 90+% of them are coming from China.
Right.
That's definitely definitely one of the unknowns out there. And so no poop mushrooms. What are the names of those, Dr. Max? Just so that folks do know. I always call them, I'm not a big mushroom. I don't eat the portobellos, and I don't eat the mushrooms grown on poop. And so for me, it's never really been a part of my diet, but those really are. Do you know the kind of a list of all the names of those?
Well, there's several. However, what most people are accustomed to really are button mushrooms. And when I say there's white and brown button mushroom, or I forget the Latin term, I think it's a agaricus, but and no, that's not right. Anyways, but what the important part is the white and brown buttons. Well, those are baby buttons, and they become portellini buttons, which become portobello buttons or portobello mushrooms. So those are all of the same mushroom. They just happen to be a different size, a different stage in the mushroom life cycle. So most people are only familiar with one mushroom, the baby button, the portobello mushroom. It's on my farm. Well, we grow lion's mane, oyster, shiitake, maitake. Actually, we got about 13, 14 different varieties of mushrooms that we grow at any given time, as well as we change our variety based upon the type of year, because mushrooms are very much like people. They are very picky. Uh,
Mhm.
they want a certain temperature, not too hot, not too cold. They're looking for the Goldilocks zone. They want the right food, but the right porridge, not too small porridge, not too hot porridge, not too cold porridge, just right. So we have to feed it the right amount of food. So really, it's about giving the mushroom the right conditions, the right food, the right amount of humidity, because mushrooms are mainly water weight. So they love high humid environments. And I've got 6 fruiting chambers on my farm, and they range in humidity from like as low as 72% to as high as 92%. And my humidity really varies in each fruiting room, depending on what we're growing in each fruit.
Ah, now on that one, because you just said that. So, what all mushrooms do you grow? Because you talked about up to 12, and I think that a lot of folks have gotten knowledgeable about, and we should still talk about them. But it's really been like lion's mane. People know a lot about lion's mane, but there's a lot more going on in the functional mushroom space than just lion's mane. So what all mushrooms do you currently grow? I know that. I threw the link in there, and I've had it up on screen so people can kind of see an idea of all the different ones. But I know you grow even more than just that.
Oh yeah. So oyster mushrooms is probably the one mushroom that we grow the most of. In particular, our blue oyster. We have just a beautiful blue oyster mushroom, and one reason why we're able to have such a beautiful blue mushroom is because the temperature. Once we grow our oysters in about 68 to no higher than 72 degrees in temperature, and they love that cool temperature. And as soon as you get up into say 74-ish or above, though that blue turns gray and it doesn't look near as beautiful. Now it's still just as edible. It doesn't change the taste, doesn't change the texture, doesn't change the consistency, but it does change the color. But medicinally, it doesn't change anything either. Oyster mushrooms are great food for your gut microbiome. Again, remember I said earlier, you got to feed that fungi, and a
Mhm.
lot of that fungi or fungi is in your gut microbiome. So you got to feed it, and oyster mushrooms is a perfect way to feed your gut microbiome. Also, oysters help to promote weight loss. So, who doesn't want to eat something that doesn't help or that helps with weight loss? I know I will eat just about anything I can to help keep that DNA at bay because I only like so much DNA to carry around. And oysters also fend off osteoporosis, so they make your bones strong. And as we get older, take it from me, kiddos. As we get older, and I've broken so many bones in my life, it's not even funny. I've been in tons of hospitals all across this great nation, from Hawaii to Maine. But as we get older, our bones become more brittle, and so drinking milk does not make your bones stronger. Fortunately, drinking milk actually uh, from my research, I've found that it makes it so you're more likely to get osteoporosis. However, if you eat oyster mushrooms, you're going to definitely make your bones strong.
Well, very, very interesting. So, kind of moving from oyster mushrooms, what other ones are you growing? Because oyster mushrooms primarily those are consumed fresh. Um, they're not usually a powder or a dehydrated form.
Well, so interesting you say that. I actually put oyster mushrooms in our mushroom jerky, and I make an amazing mushroom jerky. We have a teriyaki, Caribbean, and black pepper, and my teriyaki jerky. I love seeing people's reaction when they have my jerky. I've had a lot of mushroom jerky, and frankly, most of them suck. I'm gonna toot my own horn here. I will put my mushroom jerky up against anyone's any day, and it's very, very healthy for you. Mushrooms again because I put it's 80% oyster, 10% chestnut, and 10% pino. And I put the chestnut in there because hey, I don't like to throw out good mushrooms. I don't really let much go to waste here on my farm. So we will dry our chestnut mushrooms and put it into soup, or we'll dry it and put it into our jerky. And there's not a ton of health benefits with chestnut mushrooms, but the taste is phenomenal. In fact, chestnut mushrooms are my favorite to eat. I just love the taste of them. The stem of a chestnut mushroom snaps like a sugar snap pea. I mean, do you know any other mushroom that makes an audible noise?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
No. I do not. No, I was. No, I do not.
And most of them will make an audible noise in you when you dry them, when you whether you freeze dry them or dry them completely out. But chestnut, in its freshest form, will snap like a sugar snap pea, and they're just absolutely delicious. My favorite way to cook chestnut mushrooms is sauteed in a little butter, some olive oil, a little salt and pepper, with a pinch of garlic, and then have them as a side dish next to your eggs. Uh, y'all will be back here on the next Mushroom Monday thanking me because mushroom chestnut mushrooms with your eggs are absolutely phenomenal.
Hey, now I'll have to try that one. I don't think that I've ever tried that combo, but I do see I see a good one. And the question that I've always been thinking about the different ways that people are consuming mushrooms. And so, like, over on here, we've got all of your tinctures. And I know we've been talking to you, and you know, powders and everything else, all the other different options. How could be kind of a breakdown, whether they're looking at, tinctures on Mr. Hills, or whether they're just looking at mushrooms all around? Um, what is kind of the thing to look at when it comes to all the different formats? Because now we're here, it's tinctures, there's gummies, there's capsules, there's powders, there's if you can think of it, somebody's going to put it into that medium type
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Where are your thoughts on that? Because it gets very confusing, to be completely honest. Because you've got powders and coffees, you've got tinctures to add to coffee. We've got powders that people are consuming in milkshakes or smoothies. We've got the capsules that people are just taking as a part of their morning routine. I feel like there's so many health benefits to mushrooms, and now it's gotten confusing.
Oh,
Um, and and now we haven't even gotten in to talking about what each mushroom helps with. We're just talking about what form of each mushroom before we even talk about the fact that certain forms of certain mushrooms work better for certain problems. Um, well, can you provide any kind of clarity for everyone on that one? From all of your research, from everything that you've seen, what do you see as kind of being? Because there's no wrong way, but there are probably better ways.
yeah, absolutely. Is it wrong to eat mushrooms from China? Well, probably not. I mean, unless you're so anti-China, then fine. Know where your food comes from and stop buying mushrooms from China. But if you're not one of the somebody who's like, anti everyone, uh, sorry, it's been a long weekend, a little froggy still. But it, you're absolutely right. There are tons of different factor or form factors, ways that you can take intake mushrooms. Fresh. Fresh is probably one of the best ways that you can intake mushrooms. However, to get all of your daily allowance and everything, the amount of mushrooms that you have to eat quickly becomes a lot of mushrooms. Uh, so, a perfect example, a quarter pound of lion's mane, fresh lion's mane, is the recommended daily allowance for, or what you would want to take for improving your brain, your cognitive functions. And if you take or ingest a quarter pound of fresh mushrooms a day, uh, within 3 weeks, you and everyone else as long as they don't have stage 2 or stage 3 dementia, excuse me, well, stage 2, potentially stage 3, probably not stage 4. I don't know of anything that helps with stage 4 dementia. But there's a lot of proof that demonstrate that lion's mane will help to fend off dementia and Alzheimer's if you have either a quarter pound of fresh mushrooms a day or its equivalent. And when I say equivalent, that would be in a powder, a tincture, uh, probably not a gummy. And here's why. You got to know how your noggin works a little bit. And your brain loves oxygen, loves to work with many things. What it doesn't like is sugar. In fact, if you have sugar in your coffee, if you're having, let's say, your Freedom Forged decaf bootstrap Myco series. If you were to have our bootstrap Myco series coffee, which is coffee and lion's mane, if you have a cup every day of that within 3 weeks, I tell people all the time, I guarantee that you can say adios to your brain fog or your money back. Now, I got to check with Freedom Forge to see. I know if somebody buys it from me, I pay a person back should they want it. However, I've never had one single person ever take me up on the deal because I always say the proof's in the pudding. And so if you have lion's mane every day within, and depending on your size, your age, all those things take into account. But if you have that every day within 3 weeks, you'll say adios to your brain fog. In fact, I'm almost 60. I've not had brain fog in probably like 7 years. I think more clearly now than it did in my 20s, 30s, or 40s. How many 60-year-olds you know that can say that? And that's just one example. In fact, there's like 10,000 scientific studies on the power of lion's mane and how it's good for your brain. Now, that's just one mushroom and one example of all the good things that it does for you. Now, on Freedom Forge website, and I'm sure somebody, probably Jeremy, or you can probably bring it for us, is our cordyceps tincture. What's our cordyceps tincture called? You'd think I'd remember everything. I can't remember everything.
Catalyst.
Catalyst, there we go.
Yeah.
Now, Catalyst, that is based on cordyceps. Now, cordyceps, that is I call it God's gift to humanity because cordyceps does so many things. Cordyceps gives you tons of energy. Now, 4 cordyceps, about the average size of your pinky, I use that as a measuring stick, okay? 4 cordyceps, about the size of your pinky, will give you as much energy, equivalent to 4 large cups of coffee. Now, it doesn't give you energy through caffeine. It does that by working with your mitochondria. It helps put oxygen into your red blood cells. And that's what naturally gives a person energy. So when you take in or intake cordyceps, you're getting all that energy in about 20 to 30 minutes after ingesting. Now, you can take it in what we sell it. We sell it many ways. We sell it freeze dried as the actual mushroom, or really our biggest seller, and which happens to have the highest efficacy rate, meaning more is absorbed and accepted by your body. When you take it sublingual in a tincture, and take it sublingual, meaning under the tongue, and one squeeze of our tincture bottle will give you about 15 drops of mushroom goodness. Now, our tinctures, our catalyst tincture, that's made using a dual extract. Now, when I say a dual extract, that's a water and alcohol based extract. Now, that's kind of an industry standard. We do some other tinctures in a glycerin based extract, but that doesn't necessarily have as much health benefits as doing it in the extract in an alcohol extract, because the alcohol helps to break down the mushroom. So we do a water and alcohol extract where we have an ultrasonic shaker. It just shakes and shakes these mushrooms for several hours. And then the mushrooms, they have, like most people are aware, they have spores, and it's shaking that spores out into the liquid. And when I say spores, it's actually not a spore, but for all intents and purposes, it's actually what most people know. But anyways, it's you're getting those pieces of mushrooms into the liquid, into that tincture. And when you take that tincture and take it sublingual, that alcohol is opening the pores on your tongue, so the mushroom goodness gets right into your bloodstream. So taking Catalyst is probably one of the best things that you can do for getting energy, as well as it's going to help you sleep better. Now, when I say it's going to help you sleep better, it's going to, first of all, give you about 10 to 12 hours worth of energy. Now, that energy isn't, you're not going to be like ramp up going, oh, I just had my coffee. Okay, let's go. It's not quite like that. But in about 20 to 30 minutes after ingesting cordyceps, you're going to notice a little giddy up in your step. And that's going to be for about 10 to 12 hours. And now, if you do that every day, you have the cordyceps every day, within about 3 days, you're going to notice it. Feel a little bit better. You're going to have a little bit more mobility. You're going to be able to, whether stretch. I've had people tell me they couldn't twist like this at all. In fact, this one woman out in Pittsburgh, she has this company called Searchlight. It just opened up in a mall outside of Pittsburgh. But she's not been able to twist like that in decades. And she took cordyceps, and that night, when she got home, she said she was able to bend in ways in getting into the shower that she's never been able to bend before. And I was like, okay, had enough of the story that I don't need to hear more. But no, it was all joking aside, she was able to have some mobility that she's not had in years. So cordyceps, it does that because it's an anti-inflammatory. In fact, it's one of the strongest anti-inflammatories in the mushroom world, and that's why I'm able to stretch, and I feel like I feel more limber, all because of cordyceps. So cordyceps gives you energy, helps you sleep better, and it's anti-inflammatory. Now, as the infomercial says, but wait, there's more. Cordyceps is also natural Cialis. It's known for improving male and female libidos. And I tell you, I take my cordyceps, and so does my wife, and we both have a pretty good smile. So I would encourage everyone, take your cordyceps. It's pretty incredible the way you're going to feel after taking some cordyceps. And really, our number one seller, I'm guessing, in fact, at least here, is our tincture with lion's mane and cordyceps. Now, what's the name of that one?
Lion's mane cordyceps is the momentum. The momentum.
I'm going to guess that momentum's our number one seller.
It just so happens to be it and lion's mane alone. The acuity, just lion's mane and the cordyceps. Yeah, they do happen to be the go-to. And I saw a question that really kind of ties into it. Somebody asked, so that quarter pounds of lion's mane, how much is that in like a powder or a tincture form?
And I'm so glad you asked whomever that was. Sorry, I didn't catch who asked. But so the quarter pound of fresh equates to a teaspoon of our mushroom powder, or 30 drops of the mushroom tincture. So you're talking 2 squeezes of that dauber. Would be about 30 drops worth. You get 15 drops out of each one. And that 15 or 30 drops equates to a teaspoon of mushroom powder, which equates to a quarter pound of fresh mushrooms. And so I treat the tincture as our 10 to 20 second maintenance plan. I look at our powder is our 2 to 5 minute maintenance plan. Now, oh, by the way, in mushroom powder, you have a single and you have a dual extract for mushroom powder. What we currently have on our website is a single extract that's at a much lower price point. Our dual extract, that's more at the medicinal grade that we sell to several different companies around the country. And that is, if we were to sell that on the Freedom Forge website, we'd be looking at probably somewhere between $60 and $80 for a 2-ounce package. and that's for a dual extract powder. So really, the best thing you can do is just do with the dual extract liquid tincture there. Um, and if you have that acuity every day, within 3 weeks, you can again say adios to that brain fog just by doing the 10 to 20 seconds of maintenance a day, simply taking the 30 drops underneath your tongue, hold on to it for about 10 to 20 seconds, and then swallow.
Mm. Well, I've got a big one. I've seen a lot of folks asking on this one, and it's really just like, there are 7 mushrooms that people are typically talking about in the functional space. There are absolutely more. They're not as well known yet. I'm absolutely positive in the coming decade, the 7 functional mushrooms is going to end up turning into dozens of them as more and more research is done. But a lot of folks, myself included, will get quite confused by all the options. And it's like, hey, I have this. I need to find one of these functional mushrooms to help out with that. How do we kind of break? So we've got a cool little thing on Mr. Heals that kind of gives a simple breakdown. But as you're kind of looking through it, so we've talked about lion's mane. It's everything from mental clarity to helping with recovery from different brain-related injuries. We've talked about cordyceps. Cordyceps are from libido to energy to overall inflammation. Let's talk about turkey tail, chaga, reishi. Everybody's always hearing about these other mushrooms, and I feel like there's not really been enough clarification on what they do and what their focus is. And so maybe kind of moving over to turkey tail and chaga, talking about how they help the overall body.
Yeah, so chaga, it's definitely a good mushroom. It's not really an edible mushroom, although people will take it, dry it, break it up into a powder, and put it into like a mushroom coffee. I don't really care for that type of coffee. It's just not my cup of tea, if you will. I think it's more like tea. But I'm not necessarily a fan of that taste. In fact, I haven't met many people who are. I've heard people say, "Ooh, the earthiness." Well, that's just another way for talking about the mud that you just made. Uh,
Hmm.
so when you have a cup of our Freedom Forged Myco Series coffee, I tell everybody all the time, it's the smoothest cup of coffee you will ever have.
Hmm.
So, and we put in lion's mane and cordyceps in our Myco Series coffee. But in chaga, the reason why people take chaga is because it's really high in antioxidants. So for folks that are that have a family history of cancer, uh, you're probably going to want to have some antioxidants. So take as many antioxidants as you probably can. So chaga, it's a great mushroom to take. Now, turkey tail, that is a phenomenal mushroom. Turkey tail has over 14,000 scientific studies across the globe and throughout history. It's one of the most widely well-known mushrooms, especially like in the Far East, in having tons of health benefits. And here in the U.S., we're finally catching on. Turkey tail is known to fend off or help fend off many cancers, breast cancer, colon cancer, and many cancers from the gut on down. That's kind of why we call it gut microbiome. But much like oyster mushrooms, turkey tail is great food for your gut microbiome. In fact, I would say it's the perfect food for your gut microbiome. So between our mushroom jerky and our turkey tail tincture, if you have anything going on in your gut that you're worried about, those are 2 great products to have to help with whether it's Crohn's to help with your stool and bowel movements, to several different types of cancer. Turkey tail has been highly studied and cited by the CDC, NIH, Veterans Administration, Harvard, Penn State. I mean, it's a long, long list of how many organizations that have studied turkey tail. In fact, Big Pharma, they package turkey tail up. They put it into a pill. I forget what pill they call it. In fact, they do the same thing with cordyceps. Big Pharma takes this pill called cordycepin, and all they're doing is they're scooping off these little bubbles on the cordyceps that's about the size of your pinky. Well, they scoop those little bubbles off and they package it up into a pill and they call it cordycepin. And then they charge like $800 a month for the exact same thing that you can get in freeze-dried cordyceps, or it's not the acuity tincture, that's lion's mane, see, but it's the help me out, Zach. Which one's the lion's mane cordyceps?
On the name for the combo, lion's mane cordyceps is the momentum or momentum.
You would think I would learn to have this website up so I could see.
You need to take more momentum. The lion's mane cordyceps tincture.
Right, absolutely. Because I'm just not remembering near enough.
Well, I would say that I think was very helpful. So, all right, lion's mane, where we're looking at a lot of different brain related benefits, and so I think this might be helpful because I've seen this for years. People kind of asking questions around this. So, lion's mane, we're looking at brain function. A lot of it due to the effect that it has in terms of the blood-brain barrier, so oxygenation, how quickly it is able to get in. Cordyceps, we're looking at mitochondrial activity in a lot of ways. In terms of mitochondrial activity is rapidly ramping up for all those that honors or in AP Bio. It's the powerhouse of the cell. By ramping up the mitochondria naturally, you're just generating more power. You've ramped up your engine from an extra cylinder. You've got more going. Now we go over to turkey tail and chaga. We're looking at digestive. Not that it won't help with other things, but that's really what it's affecting. It's affecting your digestive system, prebiotic, probiotic. It's targeting the intestines. Now, let's look over at maitake and reishi. Because I know that when it gets to maitake and reishi, that they're extremely popular mushrooms from people are always advertising that they're a part of a product, but people are never really explaining what they're doing in terms of the entire thing. And I think that that's always a part of the confusion on mushrooms is that we've got the seven we hear about all the time. We know they're good for us, but how do you target them? I don't want to take, and I definitely don't want to buy something because I can't afford to. I don't want to buy something that isn't targeting what my problem is. If I don't have brain fog, then I think on that one, lion's mane is really for everybody. No, regardless. But using it as an example, that's not my problem. I've got whether it's appetite, hormonal, weight balance, I've got a digestive. How do we kind of look at these, especially looking at maitake and reishi? How do we look at them in terms of kind of breaking down what they're for?
Yeah, maitake, it's so for people that have diabetes, I would highly encourage you to look into maitake and shiitake. Those are phenomenal to help lower your blood glucose levels, improve your cholesterol, as well as several other health benefits. Shiitake more so for your heart health. where maitake is more about your metabolism. Now, reishi, that's more that they call the longevity mushroom. Uh, People have been taking it in the Far East for hundreds, if not thousands of years because it has been known and proven to help promote a longer and healthier life. So reishi is really good for your hormones. In fact, for people who have in particular women, but this is also for men too. Our Fortify, which is our 7 mushroom blend, that is designed specifically for peri and postmenopause women. Now that helps with your hair follicles. I could probably use some of that. Actually, I've got nice set of hair. I just happen to like to have shave it off, especially in the summer, because I like sun hitting my head. But it does help with your hair, helps with your nails, your skin. It helps with your mood, which again, the hormonal balance that the person would be going through in that time of their life is something that they're going to want some help with, as well as it helps with hot flashes. Now, men, it helps you too as well. There are several health benefits for you taking the Fortify blend because it's like getting a micro dose of everything that we've talked about here on the show so far about all of our mushrooms. And so, for overall health and wellness, your Fortify blend is phenomenal. Now, if you want to target a specific issue, like I've seen some people here on the chat. Sorry, we can't get to everybody here on the show, but
Mhm.
there are. So if you're targeting something like leaky gut, uh, turkey tail,
Well,
absolutely.
I would say just to clarify real quick on that. So you were talking on the longevity. It's traditional Chinese medicine, thousands
Right.
of years. That's reishi.
Yes.
So that's reishi. I'd really love, and we're gonna have to do that when we get to go to the farm. I'd love for people to see reishi mushrooms because they look crazy. With that wood bark feel and the way that they antler out. Um, a very, very, very interesting mushroom. But yeah, we did have someone asking, and I found this one on the site to kind of help out a little bit with like kind of a this is actually on the Fortify where it kind of breaks down a little bit of what each one is doing. But yes, on the leaky gut, which ones would you look at if somebody has specifically experiencing that exact situation? What would you look at?
Turkey tail, and lion's mane, because lion's mane is part of the nervous system, and you get your whole really out of balance with the leaky gut. Turkey tail is perfect for your leaky gut. Lion's mane to help with the nervous system that's connected to that leaky gut. So those two, I don't think we have those two particular ones in a blend. The lion's mane, turkey tail. But I think we have another one that's a 3 blend, the lion's mane, reishi, turkey tail.
Um,
While you're looking that up,
yeah,
Zach,
Brian Fane, Rishi, Chaga, and
there
no,
we go.
on those are both separated. Yep.
But so not nourish. What's the name of that one? Lion's mane, Rishi Chaga.
Mhm.
That would be well. I probably wouldn't use that one for targeting helping leaky gut. I was just getting them crossed again. We've got I forget how many SKUs we have, but the number of SKUs we have. Sorry, folks, hard to remember them all. That's why we have a website and a database
Mhm.
that you can go to see all of the various products that we have.
Well, I
But
know what gets confusing is kind of picking a name, and so that might be a great explanation for folks. When it came down to it, as going through and looking at them, Each one ended up getting a name attached to it for the combination. So lion's mane and cordyceps, momentum, because of the overall effect it has in your life. That's where the name confusion, because they each have kind of a descriptive term associated with them.
Right.
Guardian for turkey tail, because of the immune response that turkey tail mushroom creates. It's protecting your body ahead of time. It's fully supporting the immune system.
And by the way, I got to give a good shout out to Jeremy here. I love the picture that he did with, like, I'm looking at the Fortify bottle with the glass of, what is that? I forget what that was a glass of, but just that the picture there, I really love. I think it's such a quality picture, but yet
Mhm.
brings a sense of calmness and clarity as well, because you can clearly see our product, and in this case, how it's going to help fortify your life.
Mhm. Now for some final questions, because we're hitting an hour and a half. Want to kind of run through a little bit of a kind of a, I guess, a fire list. Rapid question and answer on things. And so, Patty here, is it true that you leave mushrooms in the sun for a half hour before you eat them? The vitamin D increases significantly.
Yeah, Patty, great question. In fact, it's absolutely true. Mushrooms will absorb the vitamin D from the sun. So, in fact, you might even go to your local farmer's market where they have mushrooms sitting out on the table with the sun hitting them, and the farmer will say, vitamin D enhanced. Very, very true.
All right.
So, please set your mushrooms out in some sunlight before you eat
Now,
them.
is that just
Yeah.
fresh, or is that fresh mushrooms uniquely? Otherwise, people are about to be going out and putting their tinctures out in the sun, and I know what happens when you put UV up to tinctures and to gummies and to different types of products like that. Things change, and so let's make certain. What changes on that? And so, is that just fresh?
Right. And it is just fresh.
Okay.
I would not recommend at all putting your tincture out in the sun. And I would love to spend some quality time with you for 20 minutes watching a gummy just pool out on the table with you as we watch that happen if it sits out in the sun.
Yeah.
So definitely things that you don't want to sit out in the sun. But really, it's we have a lot of products. I specifically don't have gummies or don't offer gummies for one reason only: sugar. Sugar. It is the mushroom's arch nemesis. It Sugar negates most of the stuff that mushrooms will do. In particular, lion's mane. Please, I beg you all, do not get your lion's mane with sugar, because you will absolutely counteract what you're trying to help.
Mm. Well, here's another one, and we're gonna hit them. We're gonna hit a lot quickly. So my apologies, Dr. Max. But with the different mushrooms and pets, whoa, what is the overall thought? What's the modus operandi when it comes to pets? Whether it's tinctures, powders, anything and everything in between. I know that a lot of that is also controlled by the very weird regulations around things that are given to pets. Something that a lot of folks might not know is that it is a very strenuous process to get the ability to write for pet use on a product. And it does not mean that the product is bad for pets because it doesn't have it. It's just that it's a crazy, crazy process.
Regulatory
Remember,
night.
Americans spend more money on their pets than they do on their children. That's a sad, sad, sad fact. That is just part of today. And so pets are protected more than babies. Unfortunately, that's a conversation we'll leave off to the side. We'll have to talk to Reverend um, Dr. Max about that one. at some point, because that seems like a very odd thing to be happening. But how do you look at mushrooms and pets? Understanding that a lot of mushroom products don't have pet instructions on them.
You hit the nail on the head, Zach. It's such a highly regulated industry. It's painful for me to go into it, and which is unfortunate because I am like most of those Americans. I love pets. I don't have children. Pets are the closest thing I have to kids. And so, yes, I would spend money on them. Now, do I need to spend money on them for mushrooms and mushroom tinctures? No, actually, I don't. I would potentially give my dogs tinctures. I'd probably do it through water, through their water dish. If I was really trying to target something in particular, yes, mushrooms can help pets very much like humans. However, you have to be careful. Some mushrooms they don't need as much. Although I haven't found anything demonstrating that a person or a pet has ever OD'd on the functional mushroom. If anybody finds out different, please let me know. I'm always looking for some data points to show me that I'm wrong. I love to be shown that I'm wrong, not necessarily told I'm wrong, because that's what they think. I like to know what it is that I'm saying and what I'm showing and demonstrating. So uh, I know that turkey tail is a great mushroom that people give to their dogs when they have various cancers. Uh, yes, there is absolutely tons of health benefits for your pet, much like for humans. You can dial in the exact mushroom for your pet. You just need to do some research, or you can reach us through Freedom Forge, and we can try to help you with that. But now, if I won't go down this rabbit hole, but if anyone wants to go down this rabbit hole for not necessarily pets, but look for reindeer and magic mushrooms. Um, there's a lot of people that talk about how that's how we got our flying reindeer, because reindeer actually have been known for eating these mushrooms that make them hallucinate, and they actually go on a pretty wild trip. So be careful, because yes, it will affect your pets as well. So please don't be giving your mushrooms or those kind of mushrooms to your pets, because they will also go see things.
Mm-hmm. Now I've got one here, and this one's probably a tough one, but I feel like it's one that you might be able to give some insight on. Joseph Valencia, are there any of the different mushrooms that have been found to be good for post traumatic stress disorder?
Yeah, Joseph, this is absolutely one of the things that's near and dear to my heart. Um, whether it's traumatic brain injury that my wife suffered, to many of my brothers and sisters. In fact, I don't know if you all can see that, but that's my Marine Corps discharge sergeant right there. Army is some other wall. But anyways, uh, the reason why I pointed that out is because many of my brothers and sisters have PTSD, a tremendous amount of PTSD, as do firefighters and other first responders and other professions. I implore you, look to lion's mane. Lion's mane absolutely will help uh, with your brain, and it helps calm your nerves. So it can very much help with PTSD. And if you take our tincture every day for 3 weeks, you should notice a difference. And of course, I'm still got Fortify up, but that wouldn't be the tincture I would take for PTSD. I would take Acuity. Acuity is absolutely what I would recommend that you use to target and focus on your PTSD. And I say focus because it will also help give you focus and clarity of thought. That's why we call it acuity, because it's going to help give you that acuity of thought. You're going to feel more alert. It helps with depression because again, it helps promote the growth of brain and nerve cells. Both your brain and your nervous system are absolutely out of whack when you're depressed.
Mhm.
So I would highly recommend acuity for people with PTSD because PTSD typically it includes depression and many other things. So please look to Acuity for PTSD. I know it helps many of my brothers and sisters. It's helped my wife tremendously with her traumatic brain injury, and it can be others like you.
Mhm. Absolutely. Now, I see a really great question from Navy D, which, by the way, also I sang happy birthday to Navy D today. So it is Navy D is celebrating a birthday today. But he has a great question here when talking about sugar and mushrooms. It's very easy to just look at a label. It says sugar, but there are differences between different types of sugars. And so then Navy D asked, how about honey and mushroom? Is that the same where the sugar is negating the honey? Where the
Sure.
sugar in the honey is negating the mushroom.
Sure. So, shout out to Navy D for a great question. Even though you're a sailor, congrats, brother. Love you.
Oh, I'm getting off the screen now. I don't want in.
Now, Navy D, you really asked a great question. We need more smart people like you. Uh, the honey, it has sugar molecules in it, but it's not necessarily what I would call a sugar. You're not. There is a different. It's not a protein pattern, and I wish I could explain the uh, what's going on in honey more. But we actually put cordyceps in with honey and sell the two together. It's great for your tea, but it doesn't have an adverse reaction that the sugar molecule has from refined sugar. It's that refined sugar that's bad for your brain. Honey is not bad for your brain. In fact, there's a lot of tremendous things that honey does. Honey, it's great for healing wounds. So if you want a really good way to help repair or restore your skin, honey is really good for that. But it's also good for you inside as well. And I don't proclaim to be the honey guru. I leave that to my neighbor, where I get all my honey from. And he would go into detail at nauseum about how it's different from sugar. Um,
It sounds like the honey guru. We're gonna have a conversation with him because yeah, there's so many questions around honey right now. We might have to try and make that happen.
he'll be on my farm one day later this year.
For that event, yes, yeah, I am. That will be. People will be able to ask him in person on that one. I saw two more great questions, and then we are. I don't want to take up. I know you've got to get back to moving bags, shaking bags, and everything of that nature. But I saw two more really good ones. I'm trying to make certain I find it so that I can highlight the question. Ah, Jen Hayes asked, did doctors say oyster mushrooms for bone health? We had talked about that one at the very beginning.
Absolutely. Oyster mushrooms, there is a tremendous amount of research demonstrating how it fends off osteoporosis. So, yes, absolutely. Oyster mushrooms is great food for bone health.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, well, this isn't a question, but I just noticed it and I was happy to see it. Lorraine Reed, I've been taking the acute and fortified, been improvement in brain fog and overall feeling better. No, that is awesome. That's the goal. That's the goal. And now, here for a final question. I'm looking doing one last check just to see if there's not well, man, there's always another great one. Um Dr. Hera, menopausal army girl here. What do I take for that? And so we've got a fellow army gal there with you asking on menopause.
Yes, absolutely. And um,
I'm
was
kind of cheating because I've gotten to talk to you so many times. So I went ahead and started running over to it. I was like, I know where we're going.
right, exactly. The Fortify. Dr. Hara, I would absolutely recommend Fortify for peri and postmenopause. I've had, in fact, uh, I'd say that demographic is our biggest purchaser of our Fortify tincture
Mm.
because it helps with so many of those things. In fact, I was just talking to my neighbor the other day or yesterday. She's got this little blueberry farm, and we're at the Berkeley Springs Farmers Market every Sunday in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. Great little resort town. If you ever need a place to go get away to a really nice resort, they got a hot springs in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. Beautiful place to go visit. But there's my one neighbor. She was just talking about how our Fortify really helps with her menopause that she's going through. So I would highly encourage you to check out Fortify for that.
Oh, no, awesome. And well, Dr. Hara, also thank you so much for your service, man. And yeah, absolutely. We had talked about that one. I know that one was a big one that you had worked on for a lot of loved ones. And I've got actually it keeps expanding. Now I've got two questions. Now I've got two more for eyesight. That's one that I don't think we've ever had anybody come on and kind of talk about it. And I've gotten irritated before because I'm like, I feel like I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you because you know far more than me. But I feel like the answer is, I feel like I've got it. So,
Yeah, boy, I tell you, as a person who has four eyes, I wish I had better news, folks. I'm not aware of a mushroom that helps with the ocular system. By the way, the ocular system, it's a whole separate system all in itself. And that's a different microcosm, if you will. But I'm not aware of any mushroom that helps with floaters or anything else. I really wish I had something better news for everyone because I sure would take it and I would eat a lot of it. But if anybody has some recommendation of what they do for eye health in a natural way, a natural supplement or food, love to know what you all are using.
yep. Now, the only one that I could think of was anything that improves blood flow or dilates the blood vessels, because so much of eye health, as we've learned that, and if anybody wants the proof in the pudding, why are people allowed to get a prescription for marijuana in medical states if they have a hard time seeing? It's because it increases blood flow to the eyes. That's the only thing that it does. Um, and so I know that increased blood flow seems to have a an effect on ocular strength. I don't know if that would be, and even that though, that would be kind of hey, this mushroom helps with overall blood flow, blood circulation throughout the body. It might help a little bit, but it's not necessarily working on your eye. It's not like they just busted out the hammer and nails and you know.
You know, most medical doctors I talk to, as well as clinicians and others, they're going to tell you that most of the issues within the body come from inflammation. Your eyes problems are happening because something in your head squeezing your eye socket or what have you. You're having uh, back problems because of inflammation. You're having a carpal tunnel because of inflammation. So many things are because of inflammation. So mushrooms are a great anti-inflammatory overall. Now, our strongest anti-inflammatory in the mushroom world is cordyceps, but all 7 mushrooms that are found in Fortify are an anti-inflammatory. In fact, every single uh, tincture that we offer is an anti-inflammatory. It just happens to be some are stronger than the other. But for folks that are looking for that overall health and well-being, Fortify is phenomenal because they're getting an anti-inflammatory in 7 different ways. And really that's going to help reduce or help your body overall with many things. And so indirectly, yes, it probably helps a little with eyesight. This is not really a strong prescription, but it hasn't helped so much that I notice it like brain fog. I mean, I haven't had brain fog in 7 years, and I noticed that, folks, because I'm generally pretty snappy. Now, some of my comebacks I try to refrain from saying because I don't want to, hurt a bunch of snowflakes that might be in the room or whatever else there may be.
Oh, I
Uh,
don't think you have to worry about that here. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Agreed, agreed. But everyone is different. Everyone we're moving to a world. In fact, I have this conversation with whether it's some of my students or people I know, or I also do a lot of work with artificial intelligence. And we're moving to a world where everything is becoming individualized and highly customized. And really, that's what a lot of these tinctures are kind of becoming. And we could almost get to, we would have 40 different concoctions and we still wouldn't have near all of the different variations that we would need to help somebody achieve a certain goal.
Mhm.
So it might be that if you're looking for something that has 5 particular mushrooms, but we only have a 7 mushroom blend, uh, I hate to say, hey, go to our competitor, get a 5 mushroom blend. But if you get a higher quality mushroom blend, if we send our products to get third party lab tested. Most mushroom farmers don't. Most mushroom tinctures do not. So if you're going to go to somebody else, make sure that you know exactly what you're getting. We
Mhm.
can show you the proofs in our pudding. We can show you is exactly what's in our tincture, and a lot of our competitors do not. So
Mhm.
of our competitors, they may have a 5 mushroom blend, and you may say, oh, "I'll just go to them." Well, feel free. Can't say that they're giving you the high quality mushrooms that you're going to get in any of our tinctures through Mr. Heals.
Mhm. Mhm. No, that's one of the really important ones. It's the same thing though that we're dealing with throughout our entire distribution system. Where does our stuff come from? That's a question that we've been asking as Americans for a very long time, but it's only now started to really get to a point where it's more than a subsection. And it's a good thing because people need to be asking where it's coming from. COVID definitely revealed to even people that try their best to not pay attention. It revealed how interconnected in odd ways our world is. But on something like mushrooms and a lot of dietary supplements, people need to be asking where they come from. Um, because rules, regulations are very, very different in different countries. And that's a really big one. Not just, not, this is not just mushrooms, this is supplements and everything in the dietary realm, we're getting so much of that sent from China,
Right.
China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia. That's a very, very important one. I think that's something
And
people need to be paying attention to.
um, I- um, I will refrain unless I hear otherwise, probably from you. But there are there are mushroom alternatives for coffees out there. One in particular is all over Facebook. I believe they say they get their mushrooms or that they're a California company. However, happen to know William Padilla Brown, who used to be a board member of that company, who has told me that even though they're a California company, they get their mushrooms from China. So uh, even if the company is located here in the U.S., make sure you completely understand where they truly get their mushrooms from. They might
Yeah.
have a mushroom farm in, let's say, California, but they're highly supplementing it from a large
Yeah.
in China.
I won't call them out by name, but I'd say that their name would rise up when it comes to them. They're a massive, massive, massive company, but it's a very real thing, and the biggest culprits are the really big players in the entire thing. It's the big companies, the famous companies that people are all hearing about now, where it's the ones that they're paying for ad reads on Joe Rogan, and their mushrooms are coming, all of them, from China and everywhere else, and they're not being tested. And heavy metals are a very serious thing in mushrooms because the way that mushrooms grow is not the same way that plants grow.
I'm close.
Mushrooms, mushrooms root structure, which is known as mycelium, that actually spreads out. This is to call that or to compare the roots of a plant to mycelium is to compare a normal computer to a quantum computer. Fungus roots, mycelium, is an interactive intelligence network. They are actually going out throughout the entire system, the entire substrate, and they are acquiring the things they need. They're looking for them. The roots of the tree are just trying to get the bare necessities. All they know is go in some direction. Mycelium is an entirely different game, and that means it accumulates minerals. And so, if you grow your mushrooms on wood that sat next to a highway its entire life, or was dirty or polluted or bad in any form or fashion, it's not the same way. Your tomato plant will try to avoid the bad crap. It'll try to get rid of the bad crap. Mushrooms don't. Mushrooms accumulate it. And so, if you were to have heavy metals in the substrate, if you were to have mercury, cadmium, things like that in the substrate, because they're buying cheap substrates, they're using whatever is wasted or whatever is cheap. Mushrooms actually accumulate that in the fruiting body in a far more direct way than a plant does. And so I think that one's an important one. It's really cool how fungus works. It's the same reason that fungus is used to clean up super impact zones and superfund zones because it's capable of literally pulling all of the oil, petroleum, mercury, and cadmium out of the soil and accumulating it inside of the mushroom. That's why it's so important for people to know that when you're buying a mushroom product, it's like when you buy fish or when you buy a product that you're more worried about making certain it comes from the right place.
Yeah, and I would go one step farther by saying mycelium is what we call the wood wide web, and it looks a lot like the World Wide Web, but it's not digital form. It's actual, real, tangible web, and it all intertwines. In fact, mycelium extends the root structure of all plants and trees. If it wasn't for mycelium, we would have no plants or trees.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, people. It's the most underappreciated and most important kingdom that we've broken down. The reason that your nitrogen fixing plant and your tree that needs nitrogen, the reason that they're capable of exchanging is not because their roots do the root do. It's because a mushroom formed between them. And its mycelium is exchanging resources with one tree and giving it to another tree as a matter of a trade. It's Tokyo's subway system is known as the most efficient subway system on the planet. How did Tokyo design their entire public infrastructure? They laid out a grid of their cities and then they put mycelium spores. They put mushroom spores in and they let the mycelium plan the entire infrastructure of Tokyo. To this day, it remains the most efficient infrastructure project that humans have ever put together. It was not designed by humans. It was designed by mycelium.
Yep.
Fungus is smarter than us, which is a very, very odd thing to try and accept, and something that I'm having to work on that one. It's smarter than us. It did something that the most intelligent civil engineers in Japan, and that Japan is no lightweight when it comes down to this. It did better than any human being could put together. And so mycelium is some kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's a very big and deep rabbit hole.
Well, we're going to keep digging into that one going into the future. I know a lot of folks are going to be asking about all the different things from powders to tinctures to everything in between, especially mushroom jerkies and such. And so I hope folks are reaching out. Reach out through Mr. Heals, Freedom Forge, send emails. We'll get answers, and we'll make certain to get anything that y'all are asking for. And so if there were things that Dr. Max was talking about today that y'all are interested in, we'll make certain to get y'all the links and everything like that, because there's so much more to this conversation than we know right now. I have a feeling in 10 years, 20 years, this conversation is going to be even more interesting because we're going to know more.
Yeah. The world is going to change vastly over the next 10 years, folks. I hope you got your seatbelt on because we're in for a hell of a ride.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Max, for joining today. We're after the 2-hour mark. I'll go ahead and let you get back to the farming. I'll answer a few questions and then let everybody else get on with their day. But I really, really appreciate you coming in. And I'm definitely going to throw a challenge out to everybody to come into Voices of Freedom, the Telegram room, start getting together a long list of questions and things like that. I know Dr. Max is a lot like me. I like to study things. I like to take your question, and I like to spend an hour going through and learning absolutely everything about it to then provide a 30-second answer. I know that may seem crazy, but that's how my mind works. And so if you give us those questions ahead of time, we get to do the research, come into Voices of Freedom, and give us a long list of Dr. Max questions. That way Dr. Max can go through and know a whole bunch. So I'm certain we will get some incredible information on account of it.
Yeah, looking forward to it, folks. Please let us know what you'd like us to talk about. Love to hear from you.
All right. Well, I appreciate. We'll go ahead and we'll sound off with that one. And thank you so much. Treebeard though says, "Thank you, Dr. Max. Way better than Dr. Min." Thank you so much, Dr. Max. Talk to you soon.
Stay well.
All right, will do. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. I love talking to Dr. Max. He knows so much, and there's so many other topics to really dive into and to ask Dr. Max about. It's just a matter of time. And so I did see one question. I was about to go heading out, not related to mushrooms or anything like that. I'm trying to find it in chat in order to highlight it. But otherwise, guys, tomorrow, normal time, normal everything. I'm very much looking forward to a major Bond update tomorrow because I was harassing Pops this morning going up to the show in terms of that one. And through him harassing the Bond contacts, they just didn't have anything to share today. Super positive on Saturday. And so Pops is very confident we'll get an update tomorrow. And so super excited to get to share that. After that one, we will, of course, go through the breaking news of the day. And then we're going to dive in to Zach's tinfoil hat time period in terms of where we are seeing a giant shift in overall global strategy on a countrywide level, from the strategy of Israel to the strategy of the United States to Russia to China, etc. I'm going to present that and see what everybody thinks about it. I'm extremely excited for it. And I'm extremely excited to see what y'all have to say about it, because I've never seen anyone even come close to presenting it. And to me, it's like, it makes so much sense. And so I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow. For all those looking to talk or chat with Dr. Max, go straight through Voices of Freedom. He's in those rooms. He is the farmer for all of our mushroom products. We do not get a single mushroom product that is not from Dr. Max, because we can go to the farm, we can see it. It's in Pennsylvania. It's actually not that far from Zerfoss family and things like that. And so, if you do need that one, it is over there on Mr. Heels or Freedom Forge. And you can always ask a million questions. If there are things that you don't see there, just come ask. Jackie also says, please not tap on the desk. I will try not to. I will definitely try not to, Jackie. But love you guys all so much. I will be back tomorrow. Very much looking forward to the show. I hope everyone has an amazing start to the week. Peace, y'all.